out here for you.
We choose truth over facts.
Never go full retard.
Come on, man.
Oh, yeah. So here we are, team. Here we are. It's Kaz from In the Trenches with Kaz, and I am back. And for the last 2 days, I've actually felt better than average. It's the first time in a long time, and I look over and I see some fantastic people waiting in comments, and I'm pretty chuffed, pretty excited. And tonight we're covering a topical conversation about foreign recruitment and should it come into the Australian ADF to make up for the short gaps or long-term gaps or failed recruiting program or a glitch in the system of today's society. Who knows what it is? But there's a problem. And the Australian government has put on the table, instead of keeping it behind doors, that they're considering foreign enlistment in the Australian Army. And I've got a problem with that, a big problem. And I'm going to explain that. I've got a poll up there for you to get into. And halfway through this stream, after we've seen the video and you feel like you've been informed, then what we'll do is we'll have a look at that and analyze that after you've been given a lot of the facts and see where this is potentially catastrophic and can't be compared to Irish's comments, for example, between the UK military allowing foreign citizens to assist them, etc. And we'll get into that. Jay Goss, g'day, Kaz, been a while. Hope you're doing well, mate. Foxy Fox is here too. Trap fit, the Australian spirit is dying. Maybe it is, or maybe it's being suppressed. I believe it's being suppressed. Yeah, but if you don't feed it, you'll lose it. That's a fact, Jack. Righto, so our Anzacs volunteered in world wars, but our youth won't now serve in peace, despite the fact we're the highest paid army in the world, best equipped army in the world, with the most life balance in the world, getting nearly 10 weeks plus a year off to be able to make sure that your family, friends are getting to see enough of your face. So put in the poll, if you want now, what you think, would be a good idea, and feel free to change that along the way as you see some of the information. We've got a whole bunch of questions we're going to put up, but we're going to start with a video after we do a couple of initial hey, how you doings to those. And if this is your first time here in chat, I'm Kaz, Australian guy, 24 years service. And so I know what it's like to be wearing the boots and look at the soldier and grow to love the volunteer. Take away volunteer status and a lot of that changes. I believe we're the best army in the world. But our leadership is failing. Our recruitment is failing. Our politicians are failing. And that's why I'm here, to start this conversation. That's what we're going to do tonight. So subscribe to the channel. If you don't, you can go and eat some raw chicken. I don't recommend it. I've done it. Me and my mate join up in army, police, military should always be citizens. Yes, they're the ones that guard us while we sleep. You don't want elements of the wolf coming in to watch over the sheep. Navy veteran. If you serve the same king, it's all good with me. For me, service to the king is why I joined, and I would transfer to the Royal Navy if we no longer served in the Crown. There is a massive difference between an Australian joining another army and another army joining Australians. We are one of a kind. We're a colonial force that has always hit above its weight. The volunteer of the Australian digger in the footsteps of the Anzac is a commodity of its own. So let's have a look at the video, and then what we'll do is we'll have a think about what comes next. I'll put on these headphones that mysteriously give the illusion that my ears are smaller. And great to have you here tonight. Dave D, g'day, buddy. And g'day, Ash. Got my defence interview on the 30th. Fantastico. Well, let's play this one, Kat. Spin that wheel, DJ.
Military struggles with recruitment and retention, the federal government is considering outsourcing to boost numbers. Foreign citizens could soon...
I'm not trying to be a simp, but she's a breath of fresh water there. Beautiful.
Be permitted to serve in the ADF as part of the ambitious goal of adding 18,500 uniformed personnel by 2040.
Let's bring in today's talkers. Senior 9 news reporter and 4BC Weekends host Peter Fegan in Brisbane and 3AW's Heidi Murphy.
And before we start, always have in the back of your mind who has the right to actually even comment on this. Because I'd go to say not everyone in Australia should be allowed to vote either. Okay, that's what I'd also say is another conversation.
In Melbourne. Good morning, guys. Pete, first to you. We know China's influence is growing in the Pacific. Do you think this is a good move?
So if it is, we've got athletes that play under foreign athletes that play under the Australian flag. Why not have foreigners defend our country? But
Are you serious? You can't add those together. You can't.
Of course, there will be questions raised if it's a security risk, but if you look at our top brass, our top ADF brass, I think that they're well in control.
Really? Transgender officers? Yeah, woke. The lowest standards that have ever been put into the military. Air Force and Navy now completely dropping fitness standards across the board to get in? No.
Going to make a silly decision. Obviously, they'll do the background checks, but look, Soph, if we can't have Australians defend our country and there's foreigners willing to do so, and I mean, why not? I think it's a great idea. Obviously, again, questions will be raised over whether it's a security risk or not, but I think given who we have in charge, given the background checks they're able to do, why not? If they're willing to fight for our country, I think we should let them do it.
Absolutely. Heidi, let's go to you. A one-off $50,000 retention bonus has been offered to those approaching the end of their service who extend for another 3 years. Does more need to be done to incentivise our servicemen and women?
I think so, and I think that's where the focus should be, improving conditions for those in the Defence Force to encourage them to stay in there. Don't make it so attractive to get out and move on to other things in life. That's where I'd prefer the focus is before we start looking to recruit people from...
Well said. This is what Dave D just said in comments too. It is better to actually retain rather than replace. And we can quickly do that. By that $50,000 bonus is not a bad thing because it's at a clutch time, because it is at the 4-year period where someone signs on for another 3 years, which means they're also going to go into the promotion scale, which means they're all of a sudden going to have more conversation ability because of their new rank, the new responsibility. So it's more likely they're going to go, hey, this is working out for me. I seem to be succeeding. I might stay, despite the fact that their next paid incentive to stay is when they get to sergeant before 15 years.
Overseas to join our Defence Force. I'm uncomfortable with the idea of foreigners signing up. It just feels a little bit wrong. They'll have to become citizens of Australia if we do go down that path.
Think of that one.
We can't have people with allegiances to other countries serving in our military, surely, unless they do become citizens of Australia. But I think if the attention can be on other ways to recruit here and retain going forward, Gavin, that's absolutely what we should be spending our time and energy and money on.
Aussie troops could soon serve alongside foreign citizens in a bid to bolster defence personnel numbers. Let's go live to our federal politics reporter Eliza Edwards in Canberra for more on this. Eliza, what's led to this?
Well, Lizzie, attracting enough of our own defence personnel is proving to be a major challenge.
So let's point out, our recruiting is failing. Our leadership is failing. When we say don't wear these shirts, don't be proud of your service, don't wear your uniform in public despite there's no reason not to. Okay, recruiting not going to schools anymore. Okay, the complete double standards of what is occurring with the military. The fact that we're showing overweight women in makeup on the recruiting ad saying this is my army instead of men, okay, covered in mud, having a laugh with their mates after they've just got back from something extremely grueling, testing, life-defining.
The government says it's looking overseas now to boost numbers of people in uniform to try to reach the goal of increasing our ADF by 18,000 personnel by 2040. Some countries that are being looked at are in the Pacific, but not exclusively. The idea has been talked about before, but it is a sensitive one. It would be a big departure from the current policy of disallowing foreigners from serving in our armed forces. But with recruitment for the Navy, Army and Air Force a major problem, defence experts say bold solutions need to be on the table.
Great point, Brady. Why don't these people, all these experts supposedly sign up? I can have an opinion because I did more time than what a Roman would have done in the legions. So let some of these people, correspondents, go and do their time first through national service conscription, etc. But they brought up a good point, and what we're going to bring this up. They're talking about our our lateral countries, and some of our Commonwealth countries having a go at this, there's a real danger of that too. And I'll explain that. Now, I don't mind Fijian soldiers coming over. I don't mind New Zealand soldiers coming over. And I don't mind English soldiers coming over, or Irish or Scottish. No problem. South African, yep. But that's almost where it stops. With a few Americans too. But as soon as you extend it and you made the mistake of saying, for example, India, you just fucked up big time. You'd fill that 18,000 in about 2.5 minutes, where people go from certain percentage in from India in a developing country, all of a sudden come into a first world country. You'd end up completely replacing our military overnight based on the wage alone, let alone patriotism. And how would you possibly ever vet them when it takes 4 months to vet an Australian? James Hawkins, hey Kaz, how do your recruitment process has been? It's an insult to allow non-citizens to join. I can see where the pride comes from someone who wants to serve for Australia. Absolutely. And I wish you could say yes to them, but we can't afford to water down what we've got. If there is a problem with our population that is now over 27 million, that we can't get to 80,000, it's a recruiting problem, it's a cultural problem, and it's a leadership problem. It's their job to get that fixed. And standards should never be dropped. At the moment, we've got such a mess with females signing on for 2 years, getting paid the same amount of money while doing half the standard, not trying to have a go at our female veterans, But how are you supposed to say to a male soldier that when he gets kicked out for incompetence, it's still above that level that is required for a female Air Force or Navy to come up with? It doesn't make sense. You've created a mess. Anyway, so which countries could apply? Is it a developing country? Is it a third world nation? The dangers of that. Is there going to be a language barrier? Is it going to be males? Is it going to be females? Is there going to be a cultural or religious barriers that are going to create a problem? This is all about capability, and we need to keep that in mind. And it needs to be something that you can rinse and repeat over and over and over. You don't get to 80,000 once. You've got to do it over and over and over again as we need it. Australian Army is small but incredibly professional. Yes, it is modern history. Perhaps a national service conscription, and that's coming up, my friend. Ex-Foreign Legion are great. I've met a couple of wacky ones, to tell you the truth. Spoons, agreed, Peppers, but sure how to do it exactly right. But if done so, I think a Foreign Legion could be beneficial. How about Yemen? I'm not going to get too far into that at the moment, but they seem to be on the losing end. So what if we did it this way? That if you came over and you joined, that you have to already be a soldier, like a lateral transfer, like some of the British soldiers we get over. And don't get me wrong, we have problems with some of our British lateral soldiers that come over when they come over, and then we find them teaching non-doctrinal ways, trying to just teach what they learnt back at home rather than learning how to adapt to the army they're in now. Okay, but we've also got some of our best. Okay, what do we got next? And as we said, the background check. Incredibly difficult to do when someone comes from overseas. Not so much if it's England, but if you came from a developing country, how would you possibly do a proper background check or understand if their family is even legit, or the information you're getting it from is legit, or what is the actual motivation for the person coming here to join the Australian military in the first place? Is it to end up with 700 of their relatives here? Is it for them to say they're going to promise to come and serve for 20 years, do 12 weeks, and then say, I've got PTSD from the bear pit? Okay, $100,000 a year for the rest of their life while being a citizen of Australia? Who knows? Flip. Hi, Chasm, 15, turning 16 this year. I want to join the Army Infantry straight after high school. Take your time, son. Finish school. Do it right. Your first mission is to pass high school, whether you like it or not, Flip. We need you to take your time and do it right, mate. Okay. How would Defence recruit when they're incompetent recruiting Australians with the current system? I'll explain what I mean there too, Tim. For our guys that are and gals that are joining the Australian Army at the moment, it is completely out of whack. What it used to be is you walked into the recruiting office and you had a conversation where they looked at you, the way you walked, the way you dressed, the way you talked, and they made a character decision. Is this guy, yes, likely, no, absolutely, or come back in 1 year, or maybe you need a bit more information. And that was step one. Then step two is you used to go in and do a 1 day sitting where you'd go in and do an aptitude test. So at the moment, the taxpayer hasn't paid a cent for you at this stage. And then you did the aptitude test and we realized that you had all your paperwork in order. Okay, you failed. I don't need to hear anything more from you. Go, come back in a year. Go and get that sorted. Have another go later or 6 months. If you made it past there, righto, cool. Now let's do the medical. Now we found out that you were colorblind, flat foot, scoliosis, depression, drugs, criminal record, or a tattoo of a dragon on your eyeball. Okay, can't have you. Sorry, mate. If you made it past there, then psychological screening, you're almost there, son. Okay. Does this worry you? Does that worry you? Are you okay? Can you work with others? What do you think about being able to potentially take the life of another human being? Have you ever taken the life of another human being? Looks good from here. And then there never used to be a fitness test for the simple reason Australians used to be less fat. We used to be more active, and you had to pass the fitness test when you left Kapuka, before you graduated out of Kapuka. As a matter of fact, you got back squatted during Kapuka if you couldn't do 7 chin-ups, not push-ups. And that's the order it should go in. It should be a 2-day process. That's it. At the moment, we've got people going and doing psychological testing online before then going and doing an interview. That's all asked about front. And it's just costs the taxpayer a fortune, for a failed applicant, which could have been weeded out earlier. Medicine man, okay, here's a question. Why do most people join the French Foreign Legion? Because they're not accepted by any other army? For most, because they're hiding something, or running away from a past. What if foreign soldiers do the same here? Absolutely. We're not a mercenary force. WASP, old school, recruiting officers are much better. Absolutely. I shouldn't see a civilian in the recruiting office. I do want a security risk here. I don't want a security here. Neither do I. Trap fit. French Foreign Legion is for people who want to restart their life. Yep. And they understand that and they're fine with it. On the beam up, heave test, begin. Bring it back. The 5K run test as well. Okay. So we're having enough trouble letting the fish get out of the net at the moment. Recruiting is losing more people than they're probably getting in because their inability to get back to those people that are going through the rigmarole and the professionalism, the self-development to prepare themselves for the test that'll be waiting for them. And then they get there and their managers aren't returning phone calls, are sending out 2 load lists on the days before they go off to Kapuka. The tests are completely changing all the time. There's people getting emails with wrong dates on. This is bullshit. I'd love to speak to General Stewart, Chief of the Army, and have a sit down with him and just let him know what's happening behind the scenes that he's not getting told about. Because there's no shortage of people that are trying to join. I'm ready, been told to still wait, and I'm ready. Okay. James, my recruitment process has taken 10 months because it took the ADF months to get back to me. Yep. I hear it all too often, my friend. Yep. We've got a population of 27 million. It should not be hard to do this. Let's have more Aussies in uniform. Let's have more Bushmasters and labs and armoured vehicles and helicopters landing at high schools and people doing public speaking to catch the people and compete with university arts degrees, with the mines, okay, with the trades. Let them know. You want to be a trade? Well, you're 18 years old. Why don't you come over and have a uniform, Australian flag on your arm, mates brotherhood around you with a chance to get in a helicopter as well, and we'll still give you the trade, but the wage of a full-grown adult instead of that as a junior trainee, a junior apprentice. Okay, here's one. Okay. How many or what percentage? So if you were going to let foreign citizens come in, how many would you let in? 10%? And how would you allow that to filter through the military? What if they ended up overwhelming our soldiers, and all of a sudden the class systems, for example, of India crept into Australia, and you don't even have a voice yourself anymore, where it just becomes jobs for mates, where they're looking out for each other and the Australians get treated like second-class citizens, and we actually have a military from foreign countries, that are looking down on the citizens they're supposed to protect. That's what happens if you end up with too many. I don't know, just food for thought. Are they going to be patriotic to Australia? Or are they patriotic to their religion, to their paycheck, to their family? That's why I'm not necessarily against people serving if they've already been a soldier in their foreign country. Boom. How would we possibly conduct a security background screening for the clearances? We've already discussed that. And again, depending on the country, what if you made it about tattoo policy in Australia? But then we've got our beautiful Polynesian people from either Fiji, Kiwis, etc., where some of them have got cultural tattoos. They should be allowed to have those. You should be allowed to look at that with discretion and say, okay, that's different. And I'm fine with that. Absolutely fine with it. What do we got? Foxy, would they get better benefits than the current serving? That's a good point. Would they get an incentive to come here? Are they coming just for the money, or are they coming because it's a new life for their family? Remember, in Rome, it was quite normal for someone to sign on for 24 years as an auxiliary. And once they'd done their time, if they'd done their time, their family became citizens as well, and they were allowed to settle either in auxiliary lands. It might have been in Gaul, Transalpine Gaul, or it may have been in Italy itself, in Cisalpine Gaul. But you had to earn it first. Simon, first step for foreign recruits would have to be Australian citizenship. That can take forever, man. They want something faster. They want people to apply for this and get expedient citizenship. But then what if they don't pay back with a successful term of engagement? Okay, next one. What would the term of service be for foreign citizens, and what if they fail to lose their citizenship? Fail to do they lose their citizenship? So what I mean by that, let's just say Dave D comes from India and he fills out all the freaking paperwork, everything goes well, and the time of enlistment is 10 years or is 20 years. Okay, like the Gurkhas. And then he gets here and fails Kapuka. What do we do with him now? What do we do? Do you send him back to a developing country? Do you send him back to wherever they're from, a third world country? What is our obligation to someone that has pledged themselves to Australia but then failed? And it might not even be deliberate. It could be untrainable. It could be culturally. It could be not necessarily IQ, but there might be just something about them. We have at least 10% to 20% of Australians fail at Kapuka. And that's a problem. So what happens if you're a foreign soldier? What happens if you get in for, and the time of enlistment, it's got to be longer than 4 years, and they're not going to get offered 50,000 to stay for another 3? Now, can you see what's going to happen here? We're going to end up, they get, they don't. They get, they don't. The standard is this long, their standard is that long. It's going to be such a mess, and it's going to cause resentment. And when resentment has rank, it becomes dangerous. Right. So how long would they serve for? How long do you reckon? How long should a foreign citizen have to serve for before his family is also allowed to come like a floodgate into Australia and get all the benefits of living in Australia in a land where we already have a problem, okay, with housing? Could you imagine if we had 18,000 soldiers came in to get us up to that 80,000? Then all of a sudden, how many? 1 million people come with them as their extended family. And now we've got to meet the needs of where they are in the locations they go to. It'd be incredible. Floodgate. All right. And quickly, is this proof it's time for national service? I don't think the problem is going to be solved by foreign citizens serving in the Australian Army. If it is, have a lateral system we've already got for British soldiers. Okay, extend it to Irish, Scottish, extend it to New Zealand and Fiji, all fantastic people, and allow them to. But other than that, we need to let Australians know, if you don't pull your finger out and we don't have a better job at this recruiting and do a reformation on our recruiting process and start looking for the right people to join, not the woke people to join, and we start to get some lions back in our uniforms and make every unit a franchise where, it's harder to stay in than what it is to get in. What I mean by that is to keep proving yourself, being that warrior with a compulsory exit time of 20 years, but that comes with benefits, whether that becomes with a housing grant loan, whether it becomes with a pocket of land in a semi-rural area attached to certain towns that allow you to go there and have free land, but you got to put a house there, whatever. We've got to have something. Otherwise, national service is the answer. If you're not going to serve voluntarily, then you're going to serve, and we'll pick you, and eventually you're going to get it, and you'll probably like it anyway. And if they don't like national service, guess what comes straight behind that? Something Australians don't do, and that's conscription. And that means you don't get a choice. You get dragged in. And is that going to be open to males and females? Or is it, again, the feminists leave the room, is going to be just for males, like it is in Ukraine, like it is everywhere else in the world? These are just some points for you, team. Just some points. Foreign fighters. I think it's a mistake. There's too many barriers. The military has to stay simple, not complex. As soon as you add complexity to the war machine, there's a problem. Okay? There really is. And you can't turn this around once you start it. You can't suddenly turn around all these foreign people and say, yeah, this is not really working. All of you have got to go now. You can't do that. This conversation should have never been allowed out into the public, just like the Ben Robert Smith incident. This should have been handled behind closed doors by the military with a think tank, and then said, this is the options. Get in some wisdom, some people that aren't after money, some people that aren't after power or a next position, and say, we need to sort this situation out. How do we do it? Give me all the options. You've got a week. Come in here. Don't embarrass yourself. And remember, you're representing the Anzacs with what comes out of your mouth. Let's go. Modern history. Just wait until the Gen Alpha grows up. We need to bring pride back into Australia, and make it about service, make it about achievement, not a rainbow flag. That's not about achievement. Only 2 thumbs up, folks. Let's see, 59. Yeah, 27. Yeah, hit some likes if you can, team. We always appreciate it. Yeah. Guys and gals, I never would have seen our population going up, but our recruiting levels going down, and that is directly because our recruiting process is a goddamn mess. The standards, the double standards are everywhere. If you were serving in the Australian Army, Air Force or Navy, it should be hard. It should be an adventure. It should be something that's hard to stay in the saddle, not something where you get fatter by the year as you still get promoted and rewarded. That's not the case. The wolf is watching and waiting, and one day you're going to have to bare your teeth in return. And if you're not ready for it, God help our kids who are sleeping thinking they can trust us. Well, Stokes said pride comes from high standards and achievement. It does, man. Yeah, not from having a sore ass. The Wokesters. Yeah. Yeah. And sadly, I think what we're going to see at the moment is the generation we've got right now is going to be the forgotten generation or the glitch generation. We're having this discussion yesterday. And sadly, what I think is going to happen is we're going to see the generation now, the COVID youth generation, that has been so woke, so up and down in wondering what are they supposed to think, the poor bastards, that they're going to end up being an illegitimate generation where everyone's, don't worry about them. They were that generation. That was when the glitch was happening across the Western world. Yeah. Equality means male and female. Yeah, it does. Yep. We don't see our people in the uniforms anymore. That's right, Cass. We don't. You should see soldiers. You should see people in uniform wherever you go. You will if you're in Townsville. You will in some areas of Brizzy. Wasp, I reckon it's by design. It'd have to be, mate. They couldn't be this incompetent. Foxy, G2G team, got to go team. Have a good night. Thanks for the spicy topic. That's all right, Foxy, and thanks for being you, mate. Look after those camels, eh? Can we get some thumbs up for Foxy in the comments? I'm planning on joining Patreon. Kaz, need some wisdom before I go to Kapuka. What do I subscribe to? Just go to the Black Legion. If you're on, if you need that one-on-one connection team, okay, go to Patreon, go to the Black Legion, sign up, okay, and you get on the bat phone and we'll have that conversation together. Because guys and gals, it can be hard to actually navigate this these days. And believe me, I had a lunch today. I had a brunch, coffee with a Patreon subscriber, and it was really, really great to see the motivation on this guy's face and how much it's changing his life and how much he looks forward to serving. Don't let the little things get you down, but these situations we have to have a conversation about, so that when they ask you, what do you think about this when you're in the psychological screening, or what do you think about what's happening in Gaza, or what do you think about what is happening in the Ukraine, that you can actually say, well, look, I have my opinions on these things, but I also understand that I'm not getting all the information. I understand there's nothing I can do about that. And I understand that when I serve, that I need to trust our leadership is going to, through an extension of failed politics, send me to somewhere where someone is screaming in the night and they need their help because they can't defend themselves. And hopefully I'm in a position with a strong team of people like myself that can get the job done. And then for the rest of my days, I'm proud about what we achieve. So I can't get upset, about everything I see on the TV, understanding there's another 30 conflict zones that don't even get mentioned, not to mention the amount of travesties that happen in Australia because of cultural reasons. We're not even allowed to bring it up because of the perception that may have. 3-3 balls. Hey, everyone. G'day, mate. How you going? We should keep politics out of defence. Politics should be out of defence, Peppers. That is true. But remember, politics is about the monopoly between two groups that have got each other covered, normally militarily, so they try to do it with words. And when words fail, then militaries get involved. And that is the last step of a broken conversation politically. So politics and military are intrinsically connected. I travel on public transport in uniform too, and from work. This is Navy veteran. Most comments I get from people and very negative and don't understand why I serve. Really? I've never had a negative comment when I was in military. Absolutely, Peppers. Should serve the government of the day. Yep. But we should in many ways also have a voice, shouldn't we? Yeah, but where does the soldier have their voice? You do see people in uniform in Rocky as well. That's good to see, Webby. That's good to see. And you can be an ambassador for the Navy, for the Air Force, or for the Army simply by taking a knee, speaking to someone's kid and going, "G'day, young fella, how you going?" Boom, rip that Australian flag off. If it's a special occasion, Australia Day, every day, and give it to the kid and go, "Mate, I hope you have a really good time with your life. And it's a pleasure knowing there's great little kids and awesome parents like yours that we're representing and protecting while you sleep. I hope you have a good life, because it makes me feel like I'm doing my job when I see you happy. And that will make you happy, because the Australian people are worth defending, mate. Yeah. If you don't think so, travel around and have a look at a few other countries. Yeah. Navy veteran, where do you live? I can see that happening in Melbourne or Sydney. Yeah, I get that, James. Breath your balls. How else can we boost the numbers? All right. How do we boost the numbers? If it's not met, then it can be through national service, which is fine, or it can be through conscription. Now, conscription, you don't want that, but national service is a shot over the bow, and you'll get enough people who will go, no, I'll join before I'm going to be national service, so that people don't think that I got dragged in. How else could you do it? Better recruiting ads, telling people, explaining. All these ads are full of shit. It's not a soldier saying, this is why I joined, this is how long I joined for, this is what I love being about Australian soldier. You want to hear the voice of the actual applicant, and not a script that's been handed to them by someone just because they went to university. Appeal to them in a sports manner. If you were going to join the military, what would it be? Would you rather be infantry and then show infantry soldiers doing their shit? Would it rather be artillery? Boom, 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 boom. Would it rather be armoured corps and watch them getting air in an armoured vehicle as it bounces down and does their back and gives them a pension when they're 20, when they're 40? Okay. Would it be a signals operator? Okay. Would it be an officer commanding troops with decisive decision making? Yeah. Would it be a medic, someone taking a knee, and helping a child in a village overseas? All you've got to do is motivate people that their life can be better. Bring back Catching the Abbeys with Leopard Tank. That was a good ad. Remember Bucko, they used to have the slouch hat on. I'll say basically anyone who's found out I'm going for the army except close friends and family has had a negative reaction. Doesn't matter, I want to serve. I would ask someone who's got a negative reaction to you, was it because then they haven't got in their corner, maybe it's they don't have a hell of a lot of respect or trust in today's politicians to treat you right as a soldier. Maybe that's it. Simon, when we lived in Holsworthy in 2001, uniforms were more common than normal clothes. Absolutely, Peppers. And when I was joined the military in 91 and then got to the battalion in 92, some people would get on planes and go on leave in their uniform. That was common too. I remember being on trains in Sydney at night time, coming back on leave. You'd be surrounded by women because they felt safe having a soldier in the carriage. Modern history says people need to start to understand that we have is not guaranteed. In peace, we must always prepare for war. In war, consider peace. And I had someone said that the human race has moved on since World War II 80 years ago. Well, Ukraine says no, it hasn't. Breathe through your balls. Why is the army being portrayed as a family-friendly and PC organisation in recruitment? It is family-friendly. We get so much time off, 10 weeks. How much time do you get off in a trade? How much time do you get off? School teachers and soldiers probably get the most time off out of almost all organisations. And that's probably because we're a government entity. Why do you think UN woke agenda driving bullshit? Yeah. I don't know what it is, man. I just think they're doing shit wrong and it's coming back and it's hurting us. Let's have a look at now what we'll do, we'll look at okay. So what we're going to look at is the poll now. And the poll says, should Australia allow foreign citizens to serve and fill the gaps in Australian public, Australian public refuse to go into? So 62% said no. Inform me first was 23% and yes was 13%. 97 votes. Well done, guys. Well done. 97 votes, that's pretty good. But we've only got 34 likes. Come on, guys, we gave you this conversation. Navy veteran. It's an honour to serve. Yes, it is. Would people from other people outside Australia feel the same about our country? I'm sure they would. And you know what? In testament to people, if they got to join, as long as it wasn't an absolute flood of people, what better way to become a citizen in Australia than to come in here and be one immigrant in a platoon from as a foreign citizen, or two that came in, handed a cricket bat, handed a footy, one of the boys, dark humour, outfield, one-on-one conversations, talking about secular religious topics, talking about women back in their place, talking about women in Australia. They've got more money than they've ever had in their life. They're giving their family a hand up. And then ultimately on holidays, you're going to their country to meet their family. That'd be a beautiful thing. Absolutely beautiful. But what I cannot see happening is that this wouldn't get completely corrupted, and this would end up as an immigration tool rather than a military tool, and the army would get hijacked from the inside, and we would never be able to turn it around, and the level of soldiering would go down, because I don't think there's an army alive that can beat the Anzacs 1 for 1. And the Australian Army and those that serve now, don't get it twisted with these standards. The standard that the soldiers provides in the units far surpasses the standard on the paper. These guys do deliver. They do, despite the fact they're given the option to do less. I'm very, very proud of them. It's not to have people serve us. That's what people don't understand. That's true, Cassie. Good, everyone. Hope everyone is well. G'day, Brycey. How you going? Brycey's had a rough time recently. For those that don't know, and he's given me permission to let you know, Steve Bryce has got Parkinson's. You know, it makes him awesome at playing the guitar, awesome at stirring coffee, but not holding it. A great dude, you know, but he's doing it hard. He's over in Western Australia. His family's really looking after him. His son, Liam, is his blood's worth bottling, and he's looking after his dad. He's stepping up. So can we get some thumbs up there for Mr. Bryce? And, mate, really proud of your family, mate, and the way you're holding yourself in these hard times. Prayers to you and your family, mate. Mr. Buckaroony, because we're living on reputation, mate. I agree. We are not the standard of the Anzacs, mate. Well, their packs only weighed a little bit more than a lunch meal, too, to be honest. No, I agree, Bucko. But you can never live up to the footsteps either of an Anzac or Farlap, can you? So if someone's willing to put an Aussie is willing to put his name down and say, I'm willing, or she's willing to fight, you know, then I'm willing to compare him to the Anzac, especially when they're there by choice. Chinese student I went to school with got caught trafficking meth. 6 years, will be deported to China and won't be punished there since he did it in Australia. Way too easy to take advantage of. Yeah, I see it. Look at all those yellow hands there. The aquatic enthusiast, thumbs up. Buckaroony. Thank you very much, team. I'm curious about Anzac training during World War I. Well, they did their IET training in Egypt, mate. Very hard place. Very hard. Hey, Matty. Makovich 25. Good to have you here, mate. Make sure you subscribe, team, if you haven't subscribed already. Good to have you here. And if you need more, bam, get on the bat phone. It's in the comment section. And team, while we're here, what do you think about us starting to do some reaction videos on more topical things that are occurring? You know, we can't just keep making thousands of military topics. It's such a small niche, the Australian Army. You know, and you guys really get into these conversations. I really appreciate it. One of the reasons I believe the low recruitment numbers is the ADF is the media that teaches people nowadays to hate our country, the woke agenda. Couldn't agree with you more. I think you should change your name on here, mate, to get taken more seriously. But, you know, I totally agree with you, mate. Absolutely. No phone charge in World War I. Love your opinions on these vids. Keep it coming. It's just about starting a conversation, Trap Fit. Because a lot of people don't know what to think on things, and that's why we have the poll there. So when people get on the poll and they've got a chance to go, well, I don't know what to think at the moment. Can you let me know what would be a good idea? What could hurt about it? You know, I couldn't imagine how hard it would be to get rid of, let's just say 10% of 20,000, you know, come over and then they fail. But you've given them all the promises in the world of citizenship. They've promised their family we're going to be able to live in Australia. And you've got 2,000 potential people that are now stuck in limbo. We don't know what to do with them. Well, it's cost how much money per person to vet them with our security agencies? Why not react to the new army recruiting videos? Would be interesting to get your thoughts, Kaz. We have done a little bit of that, Mitch. We have done a bit of that. I love the reaction videos, and what I love more is the reaction to reaction videos. What do I mean by that? If you haven't looked at reaction videos on YouTube, quite often what you have is, well, I've got an outline, floating head, like what I'm doing, and interpreting what their version is of a subject. But the reaction to a reaction video means not only do you have the content that you're looking at and wondering, what do I think about that, while we search an interesting topic, you've got one person who might be from another country, another culture, might be African American, giving his expert opinion or his opinion on something which might be very, very interesting. But then I'd be there giving my opinion also on his opinion and the content. So it feels almost like a conversation about content. Also, we can invite you in as well. That's an interesting way of doing it. One thing we never really talk about is with the military, one of the very important things to remember, to always remember, is public speaking is one of the most important things about being an Australian soldier. Male, female, officer, NCO, private soldier. You know, you are going to be the point of contact where you're going to be the ambassador for the military. And when you're not doing it for the civilians or for foreign sympathetic civilians, etc., to your mission, there's going to be times for 6 months at a time where you might be there with no music, with no entertainment. It's just you talking to other Australian soldiers 2 meters apart with a rifle across your lap, you know, wondering what's going to happen tomorrow. You know, do you know when we're going home? You know, what's happening at home? You know, when are we going back out of the wire? You've got to be able to converse with people, you know, without any stimulation, you know, for up to 6 months to a year at a time. You know, so you do develop in many ways. Okay. Would being of muscular stature be beneficial for pack marching? No, it doesn't really make any difference. Pack marching is all about toughness, not about strength, because it's hard for everyone. Can you get sore lats if you've got no lats? Because that's where a pack hurts. Dave D says the decision certainly should not be made by politicians who have zero idea how it would affect the ADF and capabilities, let alone the second and third order effects. I totally agree, Dave. And that's why I don't believe this conversation should have made it outside the doors or the room of the national security complex. This should have stayed in-house, all of the answers, all of the presentations, and then it should have been delivered to the public. This is what's going to happen. And this is the target nations. Because one of the things that would not be fair would be to target New Zealand as it is. Fantastic soldiers. But they've also got their own requirements as part of the Five Eyes and their own stability and their own recruiting issues as well. Dave Johnson says, love your action videos and the military training videos. I love hearing about our style of things compared to the videos. It is a good one, Dave. It is good. And it's a pleasure to do them too. Makovich, we can not underestimate the importance of our military integrity. I'm a no, it's too risky. I agree, mate. Senora Cass says ADF needs to stop and give serious thought to what they are currently doing and why it isn't working. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Totally agree. Analyze what's in place and make changes. That's it. Don't try and create something new. Look at what you already have, jerry-rig it and make it work. Ask the soldiers, why aren't people joining? Are the standards too low? Are the standards too high? Or are they just right? What needs tweaking? Imagine going up to 10 big mouth soldiers like Carl P, like Kaz, okay, and like some others, I won't drop their names, and go, you guys are celebrities within your units. Come here, tell me the fucking truth. Why aren't the soldiers happy? What's the morale at? What do we think about the standards so far? You know, are you thinking about getting out? Are you staying in? Are things just right? Now, ask the soldier, give them a voice, and you'll get answers that you wouldn't possibly have got out of a leadership division area where they're living on scones, jam, and trying to justify why they have a job at all when they don't have any troops to command. Topic salt. How would language be handled with foreign soldiers? What about instinctively understanding a command, SOPs aside? And that's very true. And who decides what is fluent English and what is not? Steve W. Morning, Kaz. Signing in from the UK. Good to have you here, sir. Late to the party as usual. Steve, it's okay, mate. It's great to have you here. We're talking about foreign soldiers. You know, we had Irish on before. We're talking about foreign citizens being allowed to join the Australian Army. And we're talking about the dangers of watering down the ethos of the Australian soldier. You know, and it is completely different for an Irish soldier or a Scottish soldier or from Wales to come and join the UK, or a UK soldier to come to Australia. But when you open that net out further to developing nations and it becomes an immigration tool, it becomes very dangerous. I'm sure you understand about that. Landy, coming from school, hardly any students consider it. That's because we don't go to schools anymore. And when they send people to schools, they don't send people like me. They might send someone with a gut hanging over a belt who's not very motivating at all. You know, if I get to walk into that classroom, I guarantee I can change some people about going, you know what, maybe I don't want to go to university and do an arts degree. Maybe I want to start off with 4 years in the military, and then from there learn about adventure, you know, learn about real mateship, real friendship, achievement. You know, I want to train during work hours, not before and after. I want real mates. You know, I want to be flying in a chopper with the doors kicked out. I want to be in foreign countries and getting paid to do it. I want every day to be an adventure with the guys that think exactly the same as me. Yeah, and I'm part of a group, a footy team that never goes to bed. We had some Poms come over to RA6 from the UK. Very, very professional. Great lads, and they fit in well. They whinge just a little bit less than us, but their cardio is always awesome. Buck not weaker, lacking resilience. Sitma, what's going on, mate? If you don't mind me asking, Trap Fit, what are you training for? Oh, okay, he's talking to someone else. Spoons, which with school recruitment, we only ever had one soldier come in, and that was because he was taught my English teacher. My teacher set it up. That's disgusting. You know, it used to be year 10, every high school used to have military personnel come in that you could see where their chest went down past their belt and they could see their toes, and they would come in and they would give, you know, a spiel, a script to the soldiers of what life can be. Brady, True Buck, we are not even producing any tradesmen anymore. They closed down the tapes and killed off our industries. Yep. Senora Kaz says serving is a calling. Yep, not a job. Absolutely. No offense to those taking a position to support their family, but if push comes to shove, I want someone who represents my values, benefits, and pride in Australia. Me too. Me too. I would love to go and do volunteer work for the Army now, where I get to go in and make lessons. You know, that maybe I can offer this to the School of Infantry, go and do some public speaking there. Maybe they'll say, piss off, skinny legs. When the military came to the school, they didn't really talk about the jobs. They did, but tried to basically bribe us with benefits. That's not what I'd do, mate. I'd come in and I'd talk to you, tell you what your life can be. The excitement. Girls love a guy in uniform. The only girls that hate a guy in uniform is girls that have had too many guys in uniforms. Spoons. Only 2 tapes in Sydney that still do a machine course. Really? I'm useless with my hands. Just ask the girls. Go to my school, Kaz. My students need someone to inspire them. I'd do that, Cassie. I'd do that. Absolutely. Give me some time. Let my bum seal shut, and I'll see what I can do. How are we going for time here? We're on 54 minutes. Guys, we're going to get out of here in a second. I head up the coast tomorrow. Going to take my daughter up there, get some salt water on her while I get some salt water on my tinea and horrible skin at the moment. And it feels good to be outside the crypt now. It really does. So let's get out of here and let's remind you that, you know, it's not a chore to represent the Australian people. It's an absolute bloody honour. But the people that do the training, do the sweating, and do the laying in the ditches while they're digging them and do the suffering, you know, we may not have competitive pay with some of the people that go to university after they've done 10 years. You know, let's get rid of the myth that they get paid that much at 4 years. Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. It is. Don't need thanks for service. What we just need is the respect that people aren't negative towards us and realise that their safety does come from those that protect them while they sleep. Thanks, Mr. Buccarini. Great to have you here too, my friend. You know, I know you've already got a lot on your plate yourself, but I hope Steve Bryce feels good. I hope you guys feel good. If you're having a bad day, you know, let's turn that around. And I still call Australia home. Let's get ready for Australia Day coming up soon, and never be ashamed to be Australian. You should be proud as hell, and there's no one to say sorry to. You know, sins of the father, piss them off. You know, the same people are angry at what you did to them 200 years ago, probably can't even tell you what their grandfather's name was. All right, guys, take it easy. It's what we do in this lifetime. You only get one, and you get it by sea. And if you're not, then come and visit, and I'll take you for a tour. See you later. Guten Tag. That's Kaz from In the Trenches with Kaz.